Wimborne was the location of an historic battle that took place around the town during the 17th century when the King and Parliament were fighting a bitter civil war. Royalist Wimborne were locked in a struggle with Roundhead Poole, with many skirmishes in the countryside between the two towns. This was more of a local grudge match between the two towns than an important battle. In the interest of impartiality, I will try not to take sides. Despite being outnumbered, the brave souls from Poole attacked the snooty Wimbornites. The attackers were spotted, and whilst the main army took up defensive positions, a number of soldiers slowed down an advanced scouting party. As the Royalist cavalry closed in, the Roundheads headed to the safety of their own lines. The smelly Royalists are in red, while the brave Roundheads, who are fighting for Parliament, are in orange. The two sides lined up against each other, with the big guns at the far ends of the field.
How many bullets could they shoot?
A well-trained soldier could fire between 2 and 3 rounds a minute, and they took turns in firing. This meant they could keep up sustained bursts of bullets.
How far away could they kill someone?
At 200 metres, a direct hit might leave you with a nasty bruise. At 50 metres, a direct hit would most likely be a kill shot. If you survived, an infected wound would most likely finish you off. When the enemy got really close, it was hand-to-hand combat, and the muskets made a handy club.
Why didn't they use swords?
Swords were expensive and required years of training. Anyone could use a club.
Why so few men on horses?
Once again, it's down to cost. Like today, only the rich could afford horses, and it takes time to be able to learn to ride well. If you were rich, you were an officer. If you were poor, you were cannon fodder. King Charles was the head of the Royalists, and Oliver Cromwell was the head of the Parliamentarians.
What was the main cause of the English Civil War?
At the centre of the conflict were disagreements about religion and discontent over the king's use of his power and his economic policies.
What was banned by Cromwell?
For Puritans like Cromwell, pointless enjoyment was frowned upon, and as a result, many theatres, inns and places of recreation were closed down. Most sports were banned altogether. In fact, anyone caught playing football on a Sunday would be whipped as punishment.
No football. That's stupid.
Perhaps it was a case of out of the frying pan and into the fire. Kinda reminds me of Brexit. Lots of promises of a better life, and well, that's another story. You might have noticed that cavalry are not really trying to kill each other. In normal life, these lot all know each other and probably go drinking together. So killing your mates is rather bad form. Still, a good excuse to settle old scores.
So why risk your life to get rid of the king?
Well, a better life, of course, apart from the bans on dancing, fun, Christmas and any other celebrations. You might wonder how many men died in the English Civil War. A recent estimate suggests there were around 250,000 war-related deaths in Britain. That's nearly 5% of the population. A greater proportion than the 2.6% of the population who died in the First World War.
Who won the English Civil War?
At Worcester, a huge parliamentarian army gathered from all over England to confront what was considered as a Scottish invasion. Some 32,000 English soldiers confronted Charles' 16,000. It was another decisive victory for Cromwell and Parliament, and although Charles escaped, the Civil War was at an end.
Why did Cromwell execute Charles I?
7 years of fighting between Charles' supporters and Oliver Cromwell's parliamentarians claimed the lives of thousands, and ultimately the king himself. The king was convicted of treason and executed on the 30th of January 1649 outside the banqueting house in London. I guess locking the king up for life was an unnecessary expense. After losing most of their muskets, the good people of Poole knew it was time to head back to the coast.
They are running away.
The evil Wimbornites had won the day, although they wouldn't win the war.